So the next part of the Affordable Care Act we're going to look at are the mandates. And there's really two mandates. There's the individual mandate and the employer mandate. And what the mandate says is that you have to buy insurance. You have to buy a policy. So let's look at the individuals first. If you don't already have a policy, either through your employer, Medicaid, or Medicare, or maybe you're on your parents' insurance, because now you can stay on your parents' insurance all the way up until the age 26. Or people who are in jail. I'm guessing people in jail have pretty good jail insurance. So if you don't already have insurance through one of these means, then you are required to buy insurance. Now, you might refuse, and you can do that. But if you do, then Uncle Sam's going to come knocking on your door, asking you to pay a penalty. And that penalty is going to start out being 1% of your taxable income, but it's going to eventually grow to being like 2.5% of your taxable income. Now, this is one of the components of the Affordable Care Act that the Supreme Court looked at. Whether you can legally force someone to buy something, whether you can force commerce upon someone. And the Supreme Court said that, you know what, this is actually not a penalty. What this really is, it's a tax. And so the government does have the ability and the legal right to impose taxes upon its population. So that's how the mandate went through the Supreme Court. And so individuals are either required to buy insurance or they're required to pay a penalty. So why do we even need the mandate? Well, do you remember those consumer protections we talked about in the previous video? Those are going to cost the insurance companies money. If you'll remember, we had told the insurers that they had to pay for a lot of things and they couldn't refuse people things, and we also set limits on the way they can increase their premiums. And so they're not going to get as much money. So they said, we can't afford this. We will be paying more money out to care for all these sick people than we get in premiums. So we're going to go out of business. And so what we need is a steady flow of cash that is coming in. And so where are they going to get that cash that comes in from? Well, from the young, healthy people. These guys will be putting money into the system, and since they're young and healthy, they probably will not be taking much out. And so they'll be putting a net amount of money in, and then the older and the sick people are going to be taking a net amount of money out. And so in order for this to work, we need to have healthy people paying into the system so that they can kind of fund or subsidize the sicker people. Now, there's an inherent problem in this scenario here. What happens if these young and healthy people say, you know what, forget about it. I'm not buying your insurance. I'm going to take my chances and I'll pay my penalty. I'm out of here. And so they leave. Now, we have a problem. There is no money coming in and there's only money going out. So the insurers have to raise their premiums in order to get more money coming in. So now that's going to dissuade any other young, healthy people coming in. They're going to say, they're going to look at these premiums, they're way too much, and then they leave again. And so now we have less people who are paying in, which means that the premiums go up even more. And if the premiums go up even more, then that means less people are going to want to come into less healthy people are going to want to come into this, willing to pay the penalty. And so you're going to end up with this premium death spiral. As the costs just go up and up and up and up and up, and eventually prices everyone out of the system. And so this is one potential problem we might see, and that premiums go way out of control. So this individual mandate is really only half of the picture. The other half is the employer mandate. And what the employer mandate says is that any company that has more than 50 employees needs to buy insurance for all of its employees. So for those companies who had previously not been getting insurance for their employees, they've got to buy a lot more policies, and of course that's going to cost them a lot of money. And so the businesses said, you know what, we are not going to be ready for this. This is supposed to roll out in 2014. And they said, no, there's no way we're going to be able to be ready for that. So the government said, okay, fine. We're going to delay it a year for you. So that employer mandate is going to take place now in 2015. now. The individual mandate still goes into effect in 2014, so the individuals who don't have as much pull, they're forced to buy insurance, whereas the government, where the big corporations, they get an extra year in order to get ready for this. And the other thing that's happening with this is that companies are threatening that, well, if you're going to require us to buy insurance if we have greater than 50 employees, well, then we're just going to fire some people so that we have less than 50 employees. Or we're just going to hire them part-time so they don't count as the 50 employees. And so opponents of the Affordable Care Act say that this is going to hurt the economy by decreasing the number of full-time employees there are, the number of jobs that there are, and everyone's just going to be ended up as part-timers. Whether this happens or not is yet to be seen. And so this was a short description on the mandates that come in with the Affordable Care Act. We looked at the individual mandate and the employer mandate. And remember, the employer mandate is for companies with greater than 50 employees. And the mandates are needed in order to keep the insurance system going, because we need young, healthy people paying in so that we can have a cash flow coming in so that to match the cash flow going out, which is paying for the people who are sick. Okay. This video looked at the mandates where you were required to buy insurance or you had to pay a penalty to the government. Now let's look at cash flow going the other way, where the government is paying out the subsidies. We'll check that out in the next video.